The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and I'm glad to be back here. We've been off for a week and I'm thrilled to be here with you. We are going to be here for the next 2 hours live, talking about topics having to do with autism and how you and I can be more effective, more efficient, working with a child or a young adult on the autism spectrum, helping them to reach their fullest potential. Also want to welcome you, if you are somebody who is on the autism spectrum, to be here to learn about all the kinds of things that we can all get better about. And truly it is all of us. We talk about ABA a lot here, Applied Behavior Analysis, which is an age-old science, not invented for autism, but happens to be effective when working with an individual on the autism spectrum, just as it is effective working with all of us to change behaviors, increase behaviors that we want to do more, and decrease behaviors we want to do less. So a lot of the things that we talk about here are going to be helpful to our kids on the spectrum, for teenagers and adults on the spectrum, and for those of us who aren't on the spectrum as well, which I just think is a lovely, lovely thing, and I get excited about that. In any case, we will be here talking with you live for the next 2 hours. We've got 2 different guests that we're going to be Skyping with today that I think you're going to be really interested in. And I want to remind you that this show is meant to be a conversation. Everything that we do this for you, right? And I laughed because we were talking about that song, Everything I Do It for You. Well, that's really what this show is. Everything we do, we're doing it for you. It's really viewer-driven here. So if there's something that you want to see more of or you want to see less of, you got to tell us, because I can't read your mind. I have a few things that I can do in this life, but reading your mind is unfortunately not one of them. So tell us, and there are lots of different ways that you can tell us. If you're watching autism-live.com right now, then you will see that there is a box with my picture, and next to it is an empty box. Above it, it says Shannon is answering right now. That box is active right now. It means we're live. And you can type whatever you would like into that box, and it will find its way here to me here, so that you and I can have a conversation, or I can ask our guests a question on your behalf. So that's one of the ways that you can get in touch with us. If it says rebroadcast, then in all likelihood you're watching an episode that has been recently taped, and you can still interact with us. And by the way, these ways of interacting go for any way that you might be watching us. All of those ways I'll talk about in just a second. So if that box is not working for you, there are lots of other ways for you to participate. One of them is via email. Good old-fashioned email. Did we ever think we would say old-fashioned with email? But we do now. But you can email us, and I've got that open as well this morning, so if you want to ask us a question, you can. But you can do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If we're not live, we will get your email question the next time we're back in the studio. We'll cover it on the next available live show, and we'll also send you a typewritten response in return. And sometimes we farm the question out to an expert, so you can get an expert writing back to you. It's really kind of amazing sometimes who you can have talking back to you. It's really lovely. And we live for your email to hear what works for you, what doesn't work, and we adjust what we're doing to meet that. So please make your voice be heard. Other ways that you can get in touch with us, you can phone us. We have a line directly into the studio, so you can be talking to me during the live show, or you can talk to us afterwards. If you're shy and you don't want to be on the air, that's okay. We have people standing by to take your phone call and help you to get the information that you need. That's what this is all about. You can also Skype with us. I mentioned we're going to be Skyping with 2 wonderful individuals later on on in the show today, a mom and an autism expert. So something for everyone today. But if you want to Skype in with us, you can. And if you have a computer that has camera capability, you can have your picture right up here next to mine, and we can be having a conversation in that way, especially for those of you who are watching us around the world. It's a great way to stay in touch with us via Skype. You can also participate with us on Facebook. In fact, that's a great way to answer the question of the day and to check out some of the new and exciting things that we've got going on there. Sometimes we're just hooking you up with other information. And if you have something that you would like for us to put on our Facebook page, let us know, because we're very interested in that as well. We really want to be a place where people can connect with each other and connect with information. So check us out on Facebook, and while you're there, give us a like. We really appreciate that. And you can also talk to us on Twitter. I have the Twitter open right now, right here. So I know I've been saying to you guys, I'm getting a little bit more proficient at the Twitter, so you can be tweeting with me right now. And I hope that you will, because we know that the way you get better at something is by experience. So I need some experience. Give me an opportunity to get better at it. All right. There are lots of different ways, as I mentioned, to be watching the show. Right now, you can be watching us on autism-live.com. But it's by no means the only way to see the show. There are lots of different ways to view the show, and especially if you've missed an episode or if there's a specific topic that you want to hear about, what you can do is go to any number of sites that I'll go over right now and search topics. So the first one being blip.tv. We have our own channel there. All of the episodes are archived, that's hard to say, are archived there. And you can, so let's say that you missed 2 weeks ago on Wednesday and you really wanted to see that episode, you can find that there. But you can also find shorter clips that we cut out for you that we think will be of interest to you. And you can do that on YouTube as well. There's our YouTube channel. We appreciate your comments on YouTube. Boy, there was one over the weekend that really made me smile. Somebody commented on our 50 Cent video and had they called me an old B word. And if you know me, you know I got very excited about that because it means somebody's watching. And I wrote a response to that, back to that. So if you want to see my response to the person who called me an old B word, check it out on YouTube. It's under the 50 Cent video. And let me know what you think. So we love your comments on YouTube. The good, the bad, and the ugly. We love them all. And we hope that you'll participate with us on YouTube, and also share. If you see something on YouTube and you like it, share it around. That's what this information is for. It's all free. And you can also download us for free on iTunes, another great way that you can participate with us here in the studio. And we love reviews on iTunes. That's a great way to make us seen by more people. I like to refer to us as the little show that could. We don't have a huge budget to let people know about us, so we count on you. If you see something that you like here and you know somebody who could use information or just a place where they can ask a question, feel free to let them know about Autism Live. I always like to remind all of you as we start the show that I am not an autism expert. We're going to talk about autism and we're going to talk about ABA, and I am not an ABA expert. I'm a mom. I have a son who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5, and he's 9 now. We did intensive ABA, and I know how important getting information is and having access. And I know what that feeling is of waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning and thinking, I wish I could ask somebody this question. I haven't heard anybody ask this question. I wish I could ask that question. And I want to be a part of something where you have a format in which you can do that. So that's really what I'm here, is to be the conduit between you and the people who have answers and people who have more questions. Because let's face it, there's many more questions that we have about autism and this journey through autism. Okay, we like to start every morning with something that I fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. That's right, the jargon du jour. This is where we take on one word, one anagram, one phrase that's driving us crazy that we have no idea what it means, but a word that they're using in conjunction with our child, and it's terribly important that we understand what it is. I don't know about you, but I did not expect when I had a child child that I was going to have to learn a whole new set of words and a whole new way of being. But once I realized that that's one of the things that I needed to do to help my child, I said, okay, all right, then I got to do this a little bit at a time, because it can be so overwhelming. So we do this one little bit at a time, give you an actual definition and then give you a working definition that hopefully you can apply to your household. Take it out for a test drive and see what it does. So today's word, and this is an important one, and it's often misunderstood. I think this took me a year before I really got a glimmer of what we were talking about. The word is extinction. No, we're not talking about endangered animals. We're not at all. We're talking about extinction having to do with ABA, applied behavior analysis. So let's take a look at what our actual definition, for extinction is. Extinction is a procedure in which reinforcement is withheld or no longer occurs following the incidence of a behavior. Okay, and I remember somebody explaining this to me and going, all right, what does this have to do with my kid? Let's look at our working definition. Working definition: removing or no longer providing whatever has been maintaining a behavior you want to decrease. All right, when we talk about behavior, one of the principle number one, as I refer to it with ABA, is that in order for any behavior to happen again and again and again, there has to be some sort of a paycheck for it. Think about it. This is true for our kids on the autism spectrum, and this is true for us as well. Think about things that you do on a daily basis. Why? If you were to whittle it down, every single behavior that you do on a regular basis, you do because there is something about it that's rewarding or reinforcing. And the same is true for our children. I know that's a really hard concept because you think, well, why would my kid hit his head against the coffee table again and again and again? There's no possible reward for that, except that there is. I don't know what the reward is, but I know that somebody can come in, a BCBA can come in and do a functional behavior assessment and find that there is some sort of a paycheck for it. It may be that your child has headaches, and that by hitting their head on the coffee table, that moment that they hit their head, there is a moment, a millisecond of relief. And yes, it hurts worse in a minute, but in that moment, it feels better. Or it may be that the child hits their head against the coffee table, and whenever the child does that, grandma goes, "Oh no, come here, don't do that, I'll give you a cookie," so that there is a reward for it. It could be a lot of different things, but for all behaviors, even challenging behaviors, there is some sort of a reward for it. So what we do sometimes, when it's appropriate, after we've determined what the paycheck is, and we call that the function of the behavior. It's got some sort of function or it wouldn't be happening. Once an expert can tell us, okay, the function of the behavior is this, then we try to cut off the supply of the reinforcement. So if the function of the behavior was to get attention, then we try to give no attention to that behavior. Oh, as a parent, this feels so counterintuitive. If your child is spitting and your whole being goes, I want my child to stop spitting. And so your child spits on you and you say, stop that, and then we go into punishment, right? Stop that or you're gonna lose this, or stop that, or, right? But if the function of the spitting was to get your attention, guess what? You're feeding it. You're rewarding it with the attention. So in this instance, if we discovered that the spitting was attention driven and we were told to put it on extinction, it would mean that we were no longer going to pay any attention to the spitting. We're not going to give attention. Attention's what's feeding it, so we're not going to give the attention. Do we totally disregard the child and lock the child in their bedroom so that they can spit away? No. But if the spitting happens, we don't say anything about it, don't do anything about it. Oh, it feels really, really hard when it's attention. Because everything inside you goes, I want to say stop. But in reality, that stop gets the child to continue spitting. And usually it takes a little while, but the child, if it truly is driven by attention, will stop spitting. Very important that we don't put things on extinction until we know what the actual function of the behavior is. So if the function of the behavior was to get a lollipop, then the extinction would be not giving a lollipop for that behavior. And again, as if it's attention, we're not going to give attention to it. Very tough, very tough, but very effective. We're going to talk more about extinction tomorrow, but it's really stopping the paycheck, figuring out what the function was and stopping the paycheck. It's not appropriate to put things on extinction all the time, just some of the time. So really ideal if you're working with an expert. But if the expert says to you, we're putting on an extinction, think, I'm not going to reinforce that behavior anymore. Not going to give it whatever it was. All right. And it can make a world of difference because the behavior stops. Really, really incredible. Okay. We always have a question of the day for you. Today's question, like all days, you can answer it on Facebook. You can answer it on Twitter right now. We'll be finding time a little bit later to read some of the answers that you guys send in. Our question of the day is, what emotions do you feel when your child engages in challenging behavior? So what is it that happens in us? You know, if your child is spitting, or if your child is kicking somebody, or your child bites you, what is it that you're feeling? I know my child does not engage in challenging behavior as much anymore. In fact, it's very rare. But a couple of weeks ago, my child threw the mother of all hissies, right? A major hissy fit. We were at a party and he lost it. And I felt like it's the death, right? You know, I felt like I wanted to crawl under the floor. I wanted to cry. It felt like nothing had ever been good in that moment. In that moment, it felt like all the progress had been lost, even though it hadn't, but that's what it felt like in the moment. And there was that thing of, this is what my whole life is going to be like. Even though we hadn't had that kind of a thing happen in over a year, I went right back to that place. So curious about you. What are you feeling in the moment that your child engages in challenging behavior? And if you want to, tell us what the behavior is too. But mostly I want to know, what does it feel like for you? I think it's important that we talk about these things because it's part of the equation. It is part of the equation. Okay, we always have a topic for the week, a topic of the day, topic of the week. And if you couldn't have guessed before, the surprise challenging behavior is what we're going to talk about all week long. There is it's not a part of the diagnosis, the challenging behavior, right? But it goes hand in hand with autism, because if you don't have the way of effectively communicating what you want and what you need, you're going to engage in challenging behavior. And it doesn't matter what your diagnosis is. It really doesn't. If I can't communicate to you what I need, eventually I'm going to act out. You know, the older we get and the more self-regulation, the longer it takes maybe, but we see in the news all the time that there are people who are driven to a point where they act out. So we need to talk about that with our kids. Of course, we're going to work on functional communication and helping our kids to get to the point where they don't have to, but in the meantime, we have to have strategies for when it does happen. So we're going to talk about that this week, and hopefully you guys are going to give us some input too. To that end, some of the different things that we're talking about this week, today in particular, we're going to do a little bit on stress today. We have, in just a couple of minutes, our blogger of the week. This is a new feature that we're going to be doing. We're going to feature more and more blogs by parents and practitioners here on the show. So if you have a blog and you want us to feature you, please let us know. And we've got a really incredible mom who, her site is Autism Will Not Define My Son. What an amazing title for a blog and for a page, and you can find her on Facebook. So we're going to be talking with her in just a couple of minutes here via Skype. We also have a language tip that I'm very excited about talking about today, and in the next hour, we will also be joined via Skype by BCBA Anna Matchneva, and you might recognize that name because we featured some videos of her. We went to ABAI in Seattle. And she was an amazing person that we had an opportunity to talk with. And we're going to specifically be talking with her today about inclusion preschool and how we can get our kids ready. What does inclusion preschool look like? How do you get your child ready? How do you know if your child is ready for preschool or inclusion preschool? So all of those things with Anna Matchneva in the next hour. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by mom blogger Kerri Mallory-Thompson of the blog Autism Will Not Define My Son. Stick with us. Currently in the United States, 1 in 88 children is affected by autism. 1 in 88 means something different when your child is the one. Recovery is possible. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, host of Autism Live, an online show about autism broadcast by CARD, the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I'm also the mother of a child with autism, my beautiful son, Jem. You know our old joke, guess what?
Chicken butt.
Chicken butt. So we're going to take the chickens. But things weren't always so easy. I remember when Jem was first diagnosed with autism. I used to lay awake at night in bed and pray for someone or something that could help us to get our child back. My prayers were answered by Dr. Doreen Grandpichet and the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. CARD treats autism and other related disorders using the principles of ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, which is the only scientifically proven effective treatment for autism. It is also recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics and the U.S. Surgeon General. About a year after we started treatment with CARD, we were able to see tremendous improvement, and we got our child back.
What grade are you in?
Second.
You are a smart cookie, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like school?
Yeah.
Do you have any good friends?
Yeah, Oscar.
Oscar is your best friend?
Yeah.
And my child is just one of thousands to benefit from CARD ABA therapy. Across the nation and around the world, children are making amazing progress and being given the keys to unlock their full potential.
We are extremely grateful for the amazing job CARD has done in helping our daughter. Our daughter today, just in 4 months, I think is a totally different child than when she started with CARD. I kind of see it as, it seems like her brain in a way was asleep, and now that we've gotten so many services, we've seen her wake up.
Teacher has some glasses.
Recovery is possible if you take the right steps, if you're willing to put in all the hard work. And 7.5 years, yeah, it's a lot of work. It's worth every little bit, and CARD's been there with us every step of the way.
I have 2 children with autism. I can't imagine a day without CARD or the therapists. They've been so instrumental in helping us with our kids and shaping their lives and helping us help them.
Thank you, Christina Big Alex.
Thank you, Jackie and Mariana.
We've tried other things before ABA, but the most beneficial thing has been ABA services, and I'd be the first person to tell any newly diagnosed family that you have to contact an ABA provider, and if you're lucky enough to have CARD, you're very blessed.
Recovery from autism is absolutely a possibility. We've been recovering children for over 20 years. It's just a matter of identifying the child's medical needs, understanding the child's sensory issues, and then teaching the child all of the skills they need in order to function normally.
We know there's hope for autism. Autism is treatable, and recovery from autism is possible.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod, and we like to feature parents on this show who are full of heart and getting it done. This is a tough journey. No one's saying that it isn't tough, and I think it's really important that we feature parents on this show who are stepping up and getting it done. I don't know how else to say it. And we have a wonderful mom who's with us today via Skype. Kerri Mallory-Thompson is joining us. She is the author and the driving force behind the website and the Facebook page, Autism Will Not Define My Son. Kerri, thank you so much for being here, and welcome to Autism Live. There you are.
Hi.
Hi. First of all, let's talk a little bit about the places that people can find you, because you're on Facebook and you've got a website and there is a blog. So where would you like for people to go to find you?
I think the best place probably is the website, because that'll direct you everywhere else.
Yeah.
The www.autismwillnotdefinemyson.com, and that'll take you to his Facebook page and his blog as well.
And I was just commenting before because right at the top of your Facebook page here, you've got a picture of, I assume that's your son, the picture of him in the bathtub.
Yes.
And I was saying to Kerri, I am of the opinion there is nothing better than baby's toes. And
Yes.
And so there are some beautiful baby toes and a beautiful baby boy. Maybe not baby anymore, although they're all babies to me.
Not so much.
Isn't it terrible? They grow so fast. So how old is your son right now?
He's 28 months. He'll be 3 on December 19th.
Okay. And he has a diagnosis?
Well, in February, he was diagnosed with at-risk, and in August, he was diagnosed with autism.
Okay. So fairly new to this journey. When did you start to see a difference in him that led you to go to get the diagnosis of at-risk?
Honestly, I really didn't notice too much other than the fact that he wasn't talking. When he was 18 months, I brought it to his attention of his pediatrician. Hey, there's a concern, he's not talking. Should he be saying something at this point? And his pediatrician at the time said, well, let's just wait until he turns 2 and see what happens in the next 6 months.
Yeah.
And that was probably one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made in my entire life.
Well,
and
you know what, Kerri? It is a mistake that so many of us have made, and I'll tell you, what really tears my ticket is that in this day and age, that a pediatrician is still saying, "Let's wait and see."
I agree.
It's just so infuriating to me, but they are, and I appreciate you telling us that they still are saying that, because my son, that's what got said to us 8 years ago.
Right.
So know that you're in a club of people that we listened to our pediatricians and now are frustrated with it. But I'm sorry, I interrupted you. So
that's okay.
The pediatrician said this to you, and so you waited a little bit.
Yes. When we went in for his 2-year checkup, again, I addressed at that point in time that he still was not talking. And he said, okay, well, let's go ahead and get him tested for autism. And as soon as he said that word, my heart sank. But I'm like, all right, well, what's involved? So first he wanted to do a hearing and a vision test, which we went and did those. He passed with flying colors on both of those. Then he sent us over to Southwest Human Development with Dr. Kessler, and his team of doctors evaluated him for a couple hours, went through different tests, different rooms. And at that point, Dr. Kessler came in and talked to me and said, at this point, being the fact that he is only 2, we're going to diagnose him with at-risk. And we highly recommend you see these particular therapists. And then we'll reevaluate him in 6 months. And at the time, he recommended speech, developmental, and occupational.
Okay. And then 6 months transpired. Was there progress during that 6 months with the speech, the occupational, and the developmental? Was there progress?
There was not so much in the speech, though. At the beginning, speech was very, very slow coming. His occupational and developmental therapists both have been awesome with him, and he's shown a lot of strides and a lot of improvement in those areas. As far as speech, he's still not talking, he's still nonverbal, but he is getting so many more sounds daily. I mean, he comes up with a new sound, ba, 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 ma, 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 everywhere. And just a couple weeks ago, he said mom for the first time, where it wasn't a babble, it was a mom to get my attention.
I think we actually have video of that. Emily, is there a way that we could show that video?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, there it is.
What? I'm right here, baby.
What a cutie.
do you hear? What? I'm right here, baby. What do you want? Can I get kisses? Hey. Can Mama get kisses? Thank you. You tired? You ready for night-nights? No? You look tired to me.
He's precious.
Sure you're not tired? Relax. Relax. You ready for night-nights, baby? You ready to go brush your teeth? You can go brush your teeth and...
What a beautiful, beautiful boy.
Thank you.
And just seeing some of the different things that he has going on, we have very similar video of my son. And want to remind everybody watching that it's so easy to watch a video like that and to see a child who is completely typically developing. But, you know, I kind of know, is he as busy as he is all the time as he was in the video? Is that how busy he is on a normal basis?
Yeah, he's constantly moving. He's our little runner.
Yeah.
We can't put him down, especially out in public anywhere, without holding his hand because he will run.
I don't know about you, but when people would see my son and he would be busy and they would say, oh, well, it's because there's a lot going on. But it was never not that. There wasn't ever a moment that he was. So that's why I wondered. But absolutely beautiful. That's $1 million smile that child has.
Yeah. It's definitely precious.
So you are getting more and more sounds, but he's about to turn 3. And I know you just recently wrote a blog about your concerns about what happens when he turns 3. What is the current plan right now?
Well, once he turns 3, he transitions out of the Arizona Department of Developmental Early Intervention Program. And he's already qualified for Arizona long-term care. And so he will be starting preschool on January 7th with the Dysart Early Childhood Education Center, where they deal specifically with kids with delays. So he will be starting there in February. And right now we're in the evaluation process where they do their own evaluations on him. Their doctors come in and, you know, see where he's at on their levels to see which classes he's going to be in with which instructors.
Okay. And, you know, Arizona is one of those states that it's really, in a lot of ways, ahead of the game, although I know it hasn't trickled down to everybody there. We talk a lot about ABA on this show, and I know that they have a specific program for some parts of Arizona where kids can qualify for early intensive ABA before the age of 5 and have it all paid for by the state. Have you looked at that? Is that in an area where you're at in Arizona?
Definitely, yes. And he is qualified for that, and we are getting him involved with that. We've contacted the Hope Group here in Phoenix, and he already had an evaluation through his HAB-M provider, and she's come out to the house and done her evaluation. I should be getting the program and his HAB-M type IEP type of program this week. And then on the 26th of October, we start, she will come out to the house and do ABA therapy with me and with Connor.
Wonderful.
So he will be starting that. And then we'll have his HAB providers come in anywhere between 15 to 40 hours a week, depending on her evaluation results.
Wonderful.
So yes.
Well, I'm excited for you for that, and for so much more, because he's a beautiful child, and there's some interaction there that's really a strong thing that can be built upon. But I want to talk a little bit about the title of your site and your Facebook page and your blog, Autism Will Not Define My Son. Where did that come from?
Well, mainly when autism was first mentioned to me at his 2-year visit, a lot of family members were saying, don't let them put a label on him. Don't let them label him as autistic. And I'm like, you know what? I don't care what they call it. I don't care if it's autistic. I don't care. If it's going to get him the help that he needs to start talking and start socializing with people the way that he's supposed to, is the way his society, says that he's supposed to, then call it autism, call it, I don't care. But it's not going to define who he is or what he does in the future. It's just a name. It's just a diagnosis, but he's going to figure out what he wants to do and how he wants to do it and when he's going to do it.
Yeah.
Connor has his own schedule, so he's going to figure stuff out.
Now, is he your only child, or do you have more?
He's my only child by blood. I do have a daughter, Sarah, who will be 24 in January. She's not a blood daughter, but she's still my daughter.
Okay.
And she helps out a lot with Connor. She's actually there with him Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays, and does his therapy with him because I have to be here at work.
Wonderful. Well, Kerri, I just have to tell you, I think you're remarkable. What you're getting done this early after the diagnosis is amazing. I think the message that you put out, I'm somebody who follows you on Facebook, and you have wonderful things that you write that I think are honest and uplifting and to the point, and I want to encourage everybody to check out your Facebook page and your website and Connor's blog, because I think you're doing a wonderful job. And I also have to tell you that I've met so many different parents along this way, and it seems like to me that the parents who say it doesn't matter what it takes, we're going to do everything that we can, are the parents who get the farthest and are the happiest long-term with where their kids are. And you're already saying that, and you're relatively new to this, so I have great hopes for you, and I have great hopes for your child and for your family.
Thank you very much.
And if we can help you in any way to connect you with anything, I hope that you'll let us know, because you got an amazing thing going on.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And we will look forward to hearing back about how things go with Connor. But in the meantime, I want to remind everybody to check out autismwillnotdefinemyson.com. I also have to give a big shout out to you that I see that you're getting ready to do an Autism Speaks walk, and you've raised over $1,000 already.
Yeah, so far we've raised over $1,000, and I actually just got notification this morning. Scott Porter, who is the owner of Spartan Fit CrossFit, he's also doing a fundraiser for Connor's team, and they've raised about $1,500 so far.
Wow.
So we're going to add that to what we already have. So
wow, wonderful. I don't know, have you ever been to an Autism Speaks walk before?
No, this will be my first.
Well, usually they have something called the Grand Club that's there. So if you've raised over $1,000, your entire party will be treated to the Grand Club, and I encourage you to go into the Grand Club and participate, because there are nice things in the Grand Club.
Yeah, I'm on the Autism Speaks, the walk committee, the social media walk committee for this walk.
Kerri, look at you. Look at you go, girl. You're brand new to this, and you are moving it and shaking it.
And I can't sit still, so.
Well, you know what? I'm proud to be on the same team as you. I know this. They always say this is the club that nobody wants to belong to, but you meet incredible people in this club, and I'm thrilled to get to know you. And I look forward to seeing what else you do, because you are a mover and a shaker. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And we will look forward to talking to you again soon.
I look forward to it. Thank you, Shannon.
We'll let you get back to work, and thank your boss for letting you have the time to do this.
I will definitely do that. He's an amazing man, so thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So that was autism blogger and awesome mom, my goodness, I wish I had that together when my son was about to turn 3. But Kerri Mallory-Thompson, do check out her website, www.autismwillnotdefinemyson.com, and definitely check them out on Facebook and give them a like on Facebook. She does some incredible work there. Stick with us. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and talk about relieving stress.
My son,
my brother,
my daughter is one of the
1 in 88 children
on the autism spectrum.
I have autism.
I have autism.
I have autism, and I want you to see me as an individual
and not as a label.
I want to find out why my brother has autism.
I want the government to say that autism
is a public health crisis.
I need to know who will take care of my child when I'm gone.
I want to know what treatments,
what solutions are out there for my child.
We need insurance reform
in all 50 states.
I want autism to be an unavoidable topic for those running for office this fall.
I want my students to be
safe in school.
I want the bullies to leave me alone.
Autism Speaks encourages all Americans to ask candidates, how will you make a difference for those living with autism?
I want a Senate,
a president,
a Congress
that recognizes autism
as an urgent public health
crisis it is.
I want our lawmakers to listen.
Make your voice heard this election. Visit autismvotes.org.
Welcome back to Autism Live. And it's that time of the day, that time of the week when we talk about stress. We know that stress is a part of this journey that is inescapable. And I don't know about you, but it took me a little time to accept that. There was a period of time in which I thought, oh, I'm going to be able to do this and manage this stress, and I'm going to figure the whole thing out. It didn't really go that way. And I found, and I still find, although I keep forgetting it, I still find that if I don't make it a part of my everyday to manage the stress, what will happen is that I get overwhelmed. I know I've shared before on the show that there was a day in which I had said overwhelmed so many times to everybody that I had talked to. People were like, how are you? I'd say overwhelmed. You know, how are things going? I'm overwhelmed. You know, what's happening? I'm overwhelmed. And I just kept saying it because I don't know. I think I expected that somebody was going to say something that was magically going to make the overwhelmed go away. But I'd said it so many times that I went and looked it up in the dictionary to see what it actually meant. And because I said overwhelmed, what's whelmed? That you're over. And what it actually means is being underwater. That you get to that point where you're covered in water. And I thought, wow, you know, that really addresses it, because that's what I felt like, that I was going down for the last time. And we can't let things get that bad on a daily basis. It's going to happen sometimes, right? But it's sort of like buying insurance. If we kind of take care of it a little bit at a time and do a daily something or other to help us to manage the stress, when the big stresses come, we don't get as far down under. We are going to get overwhelmed, but maybe it's not going to be as bad. So I'm a big one for talking about, and I'm saying this to myself as much as I'm saying it to you, meditating. And so I want to take a second today to talk about meditation in its many forms, because some of you guys have written in and said, yeah, but I don't know how to meditate, or I try to meditate and I can't. And until you can get to true meditation, what do you do? And I think, although not an expert on meditation, but I think from my experience that it's like any other muscle. You have to kind of go slow and take it a little bit at a time. So I've made a list of things here to think about doing for yourself. The first one being to download free meditations, because when we're trying to reduce stress, we don't want to do anything that's going to incur more stress, and spending money has the potential, if we've got a child on the spectrum, to incur more stress. So everything that I put here, totally free. If you go onto iTunes and put in meditations or free meditations, you will find that there are many places that will download 1 or 2 free meditations for you that are sometimes 20 minutes to an hour long. And I would encourage you to try them. Try more than one, because it's different things for different people, right? You want to get one that actually helps you to relieve stress, to get you into a state where you're calm and centered. That, you know, the level of how deep you can meditate is going to depend on how much experience you have meditating. But don't think to yourself, okay, because I couldn't get completely relaxed, it wasn't worthwhile. You gotta start somewhere. You know what I'm saying? So just like I'm not gonna go and run a marathon today, but walking around the block would be helpful. We need to do that with meditation. So if you only can listen to 10 minutes of the meditation, because that's all you had time for, and in that 10 minutes of the meditation, there were several times that you found yourself thinking about your upcoming IEP meeting or stressing about that bill that has to be paid, and twice you said to yourself, I'm letting go of that right now and coming back to a centered place, that's progress. So I want to encourage you to try that out. If you're not somebody who has access to something, a player that you can download music on, there are other meditations that you can do, and one that I particularly love in this week off, I reunited with this meditation. It was very, very helpful. Simply sitting or lying someplace and having a moment to close your eyes, and you can do this in a minute, or you can take 20 minutes, or you can do it as you're going to sleep. It's really helpful to get you to go to sleep. But starting eyes closed, visualizing your entire body from your toes to the top of your head, and thinking of yourself as a series of sandbags. So you start with your toes and think of your toes as little itty bitty sandbags. And somebody comes along and just pricks the sandbags with a fork or whatever, and you visualize sand spilling out of the sandbags and going onto a beach or something like that. And then picture your whole foot being a sandbag, and somebody pokes a hole in it and the sand spills out on the beach. And then you picture your ankles and the sand spills out, and then your calves and the sand spills out, and then your thighs and the sand spills, going through your whole body, starting with your feet and going up to your head. And if you're somebody who's good at visualization, it's something where you just let things slip away. It's a place for your brain to focus and let go. It really is very relaxing. If you have trouble getting to sleep because you got that monkey brain going on, that's what a friend of mine calls it, the monkey brain, which is constantly busy, focusing on letting go of sand, because we can't focus on letting go of the problems, right? Then we get into thinking about the problems, but letting go of sand. Really incredible, and it doesn't cost a penny. There are some people who, if you don't have time and the visualization thing isn't strong for you, doing just a one-time affirmation, or you can do it over and over again. One of the things I've recommended before on the show, take a minute when you get into the car with your child or your children before you drive away. Get them into their harness so they're still for a moment. They might be screaming, but they're hooked in. Take a moment to sit in your car, and if you can, if everybody's safe, close your eyes for a second and think some calming thought, like this too shall pass, or I have infinite strength to get through things, or I will find time to relax later on. Whatever the affirmation is, I would sit and say to myself, I can do this. I used to be able to speak Spanish fluently, and not so much anymore. But I have friends who say, "Si se puede," we can do this, I can do this. And that would be a great mantra for me. I can do this. Because there were so many times that there was the voice in my head saying, you're not going to be able to do this, right? I can do this. And have it be something small. Just drive to OT. I can do this. Can't do it all, but I can do this. Was a good one for me. But find the one that's right for you. And then taking mental vacations for just little moment here and there and wherever. If your child is going into OT and you're going to be in the room, but the OT person is working with them, you can sit there for a moment and close your eyes, and whatever environment works for you, picture Tahiti, or if that's what works for you, or picture sitting by a fire with the snow falling outside, if that's what works for you. 20 seconds of that is helpful to reduce the stress on your body. You know, my son the other day said to me, he said, "Mom, I can't sleep." And I said to him, okay, let's talk about that. You can't sleep. It's because your brain is busy. Let's give your brain something else to do. Eventually, I want to get him to the point where his brain can be still and he can be picturing snow and having total shutdown. But that's a lot to ask in the beginning, right? It's a lot to ask of us. So I said to him, you know, some people like to count sheep because it's repetitive and it's something to visualize. That's never worked for me. I'm somebody who likes stories. So if I can't go to sleep, I will lay in bed, and if I've done the sandbag thing and I still can't go to sleep, I will start to tell a story in my head, because for me that occupies my brain, gets rid of all of the other, you know, stuff, right? And I focus on telling myself a story. For my son, who likes to build things, he's Mr. Lego, I said to him, I want you to picture building something piece by piece, and he was asleep within 30 seconds. We can do this for ourselves. What is it that occupies our brain and quiets everything else down? It's a great place to start on our way to pure meditation. Getting our brains occupied, busy with something. I know you've experienced that thing where you're driving in your car and you get there and you think, I don't know how I got here. I don't know where my head was. And a lot of times you can't remember exactly where it was, but your brain, your head was in a deeply creative place that was very relaxing. When we have stress, it interrupts that sometimes. So bring it back a little bit at a time until you can get yourself into a state where you can totally relax and let it be white noise. Baby steps to get there. But it's important that we take whatever time, if it's 10 seconds, if it's 10 minutes, or if it's an hour a day, doing something to keep this muscle moving in the direction of getting to relaxation. Stress, it's a reality, right? We have to fight it, but I know that you can. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we have our language tip for the day, talking about teaching our children how to make choices. Stick with us.
ACT Today, or Autism Care and Treatment Today, was founded in 2004 by several passionate parents who believe that access to early, effective treatment is vital for individuals with autism. Together with Dr. Doreen Graham-Pache, the world's leading provider of therapy for autism, this group created ACT Today to do just as the name implies, take action immediately to treat autism spectrum disorders.
A lot of families and parents and even physicians don't yet accept the fact that we are recovering children with autism.
In 2006, inspired by her struggle to get treatment for her young son Wyatt, television producer and author Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson and her husband Reed hosted a backyard benefit for the foundation called Denim and Diamonds for Autism. Tens of thousands of dollars were raised, and in 2008, Alspaugh-Jackson took the helm of ACT Today as executive director.
This country has to come together to save a generation of children.
With a dedicated board of directors, a small but committed staff called the A-Team, as in autism, ACT Today is making a huge difference in the lives of children across the country. Grants that fund programs for behavior therapy, special needs schools and summer camps, medical needs like diagnostic tests and special diets, basic safety equipment such as helmets for children who repetitively bang their heads, and fencing for those who wander, assisted technologies and assistance dogs.
Hi, my name is Max, and I love my iPad too. It's so great. I can take photos.
In 2010, ACT for Military Families became the first national campaign to benefit military children with autism.
I'm Joe Montaigne. As a father of a daughter with autism, I know the challenges that brings.
ACT Today continues to educate and raise national awareness on the need for early and intensive intervention for an epidemic that affects at least 1 in 110 children.
I called on November 1st. And I'm like, how am I going to get notified? How are you going to let me know? And they ended up looking and they informed me that he had received the grant, which was like a blessing from above.
ACT Today, fulfilling its mission of helping families with autism, one child at a time.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Slight change of plans because you guys have asked some questions that I really want to get to. So, first one. Hi, Shannon. Why do I feel guilty about talking to friends about my child's label? I can't seem to find a way to tell him about his autism. He's so developmentally young, age 10, mainstreamed with an aid. I always feel like I'm doing him an injustice. It's so ingrained in me not to want to label him. It just feels so wrong. You're like the only person I can talk to and not feel guilty. Thank you for hearing me. And welcome back. I really missed you last week. I missed you too. Can I just tell you guys, I missed you. You guys are part of my community here. Here's the thing about, as my understanding about guilt. Guilt's going to come. We can talk to Evelyn Gould about this tomorrow too. But guilt's going to come no matter what we do. We just talked with a mom who, man, I'm so impressed with that. She's getting so much done, and she's there, and her child is not yet 3, and she's got the diagnosis, and she was in it 18 months and went back at 2. And did you hear what she said? And she said, yeah, this is the biggest mistake I made, that I listened to that pediatrician. And you can feel that the guilt that we all have about the time that we lost, or we did this or we didn't. I think the guilt's going to be there no matter what we do. And especially, I think, as our children move on and trying to figure out each and every moment, can I tell you, I still don't know when to say, what to say, and how to say. And recently, I've decided to give myself a whole lot of slack and to not pre-decide when to say and what to say and how to say, but to wait for a given moment. I know we were at a place the other day, we were at a Japanese garden here in Los Angeles that I took my son to, and we'd been wanting to go there for a really long time. And the woman at the counter said, now there's a bunch of rules going in, and you have to sign this agreement saying that you understand the rules. And so I called my son over and I said, let's read the rules together. And I started reading them, and she stopped me and she said, no one has ever read the rules to their children before. She said, I've been working here for years and no one has ever actually taken the time to read the rules and go over them with their child. And this was fascinating to me, right? But I immediately wanted, like, my instinct was to say, well, we're used to this because of the A word. And then I stopped myself and said, you don't need to tell her that. You don't need to tell her that. He's doing just fine. She doesn't realize. Don't tell her that. And I really had to stop myself from saying something. And we did the tour of the gardens. We came back and something came up in conversation. And then the moment came where I was like, no, I really need to say something to her, because it seemed like there was stuff that she was interested in knowing about, and that there might be a reason why for her child. And so, and I was just about to say something, and then my son said something. But what I forced myself to do was to be in the moment. That's just the hardest thing in the world for me, is to be in the moment and not decide beforehand, well, what's the thing to say, what's the thing not to say. And I think, as hard as it is for me, I think for me, and maybe not for you, that's a space that I've got to be in at his age, that it isn't important to tell everyone. There are some people that it's important to tell them for my son's sake. There are some people that it's important to tell them for their sake. Because there are people out there who need the information that we have. I always like to put my son's needs first. But there are some people that need the information that we have. So I would say to you, bless you. You're going to feel guilty. You're going to feel guilty. But if we take it minute by minute and say, okay, what do I need to tell this person? Does it serve my child? Does it not serve my child? Does it serve this person? Or, is this just because I had to when he was younger sort it out in the moment, because I think it's different circumstances all the time. But I don't think that we ever, as parents, label our children. I just don't think it's in us to do that. We see all the time when other people label them, and I think maybe a place to put our attention is when we see somebody labeling our child, reminding them that our children are individual. I think maybe that's the place to take the energy of our guilt, say, oh, yeah, okay, there I am. I'm guilty today. Great. Where can I put this in a positive way? But know that I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. And it's tough. It's tough. And I don't think that there's a one-size-fits-all answer for us, for our kids, or the people that we're talking to and the different circumstances. And I would guess that if you haven't been able to language it for your son yet, it's because it's not time yet. I really think that when the time comes, you're gonna know it with your whole being. I really do believe that. And you're gonna know what to say, really. But let me know. Let me know. Another person said, welcome back, and I appreciate that. And I did have a wonderful week off. I missed you guys, though, I really did. And then another person has asked a question about IQ scores. Now, this is interesting because it's like we have Vulcan mind meld, because our myth for tomorrow was about IQs. So stick with me, because a little bit later in the show, what we'll do is answer your question about IQs and do the myth of the day having to do with IQs. But right now, it is time for us to show you this week's episode of The A Word. This is the amazing documentary being made here at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders following a little boy, Jack Riley, who at this point in the series, because this is, I think, episode 7 in the series, he's 2 years old, been diagnosed with autism, has started ABA therapy, but he's still in the beginning stages of ABA. We're seeing a lot of progress, but it's not always easy. This is the A word.
A. B. Good word. You say T. Oh, there's Miss Jessica. Hello. Hi. Say hi. Ready? What do you see? What is it? What's that? Giraffe. He's getting really good at that. What's that guy? Who's this guy?
We have this one program called NVI, which is non-vocal imitation. So he basically has to imitate whatever we do. So we were working on object manipulation, and then Tuesday, I tried doing more gross motor things like clapping hands or standing or jumping, and he was able to imitate all of those.
Ready? Do this. Yay! Very good. Okay, here you go. Who's hiding now? Me? Do this. Good job. Okay, here you go. Okay, let's do another one. Okay, ready? Do this. Yay! All right. Here you go, Rockstar. Oh, that's so cool. All right, you ready? Do this. Good job. Very good.
So that was actually a fine motor action with a touch nose.
Oh, yeah. How did that happen? You want more? You want more of this? More? Okay. Good asking. We'll do a couple more actions, okay? Do this. Good job. Do this. Good job. Do this. Good try. Over here. Can you try? Do this. There you go. All right. Here you go.
He's been doing a lot more on his own, even just when I attempt him by just holding the object, not necessarily asking him to imitate more. Cat, that's right. He does do it on his own now, which is really cool. Good asking, buddy. Out. Line that up.
That one's up. Oh, there you go. See? How many up do you want to go?
You touch the block. God, what is it? Block. Good job. Sorry, I'm just curious. This is cool. Okay. I'm interested too. Touch shoes. Where's the shoes? Let's go try. Okay. Let's see. You touch crab. Where's the crab? Can you touch it with your finger though? Thank you. Did you see that? What is it? Crab. See, crab. That was so funny. I didn't specify, huh? Touch block. Good job. What is it? What is this? Block. This is his receptive labels, so what I just did basically. And our supervisor had written down things that's in his environment that he might not know or that he might know the labels to, or if he's just seen it or heard the label for it, not necessarily know how to say it per se. And I just went through block, guitar, bear, plane, cat with him, and so he actually knows all of them. So I'm actually going to go through his environment just to see other things like shoes. He actually knew almost everything on here except fork, I think. Yeah. So that's actually really impressive. You amaze me every day, kiddo.
We're taking a walk. We just finished dinner, getting ready to go to bed. But part of our after dinner tradition suddenly has been to take a walk. Make sure. Say, come on, Mama. Come on, Mama. Right, Jack? And then we say, stop. Go. 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 Stop. Go. 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 So we're practicing our stops and goes. Stop. Go. Good stopping. Go. Stop. Go. Good stopping, Jack. Stop. Go. Go. Good stopping. Good job, love. Look at me. Say bye-bye. Bye-bye.
That is a cute little boy. That is the A word, and you can be watching this series yourself on your own time for free on YouTube. There's their YouTube channel. This was, I believe, episode 7. You could see that we were 6 weeks into ABA therapy for that episode, and they're starting to build language. And if you ever wonder what the arc of ABA and all the different things that you teach, how they all go together like those puzzle pieces that we all talk about from time to time, this is an amazing way in which to watch one child's journey. And it's one child, and the lessons aren't going to be the same for all of our kids, but I can tell you, having also gone through this with a child, there's a lot to glean from this, a lot. I wished I'd had an opportunity to watch this before I started an ABA program, because a lot more would have made sense to me earlier. There were so many times that I found myself going, why are we doing this? Why is this working? You know, because there's the frustration as a parent of, you know what you want. You want your child speaking in full sentences. You want your child understanding when you say something to them. You want them to be compliant and not run out into the street. And so when we're working on things in little small increments, sometimes it feels like, what are we doing? But when those small increments get put together, oh my goodness, the things that happen. Just in that last little bit of the video when they're teaching stop and go, right? And that's mom actually videotaping and saying, you know, he's saying go, go, because he wants to run, and she's saying stop. And you can see there's that one moment when he kind of slows down. It's kind of muddy. He's still moving his legs, and but he's kind of stopping. And we call that reinforcing the approximation. He didn't really stop, but he didn't really go. We got to start somewhere though, right? And so she praises him and says, yes. And what does he want? What does he want for reinforcement? She doesn't have to have jelly beans or potato chips or, you know, Thomas the Tank Engine cars. What he wants, he asks for. He's demanding. He's saying, go, go. And she says, good job, go. So he gets to go again. And because he got reinforced by being able to go when he was told to stop, and he kind of did, 3 minutes later, his stop is that much better. Now, are they done? Do they get to retire this lesson? No, we'll see it comes up again much later, but he's getting the beginnings of it. And that mimics typical development, that we have these approximations and there's something that's reinforcing about it, and so then the child does a little bit better. But we just, with our kids, we got to chunk it down to these very small bite-sized increments, but that's how we get it done. I was talking to somebody the other day who was saying, you know, it's just been so frustrating because I don't know how to teach my son. I don't know how to teach my son. And then therapists come in and I see how easy it is to teach my son. I just got to do it in these little small slivers. But that's what works. And we had a big hug about it because it's like, oh, when you get it, it's amazing because you see your kid getting it. And sometimes it takes somebody else showing you exactly how to do it. But progress is possible. We see also in this video the phone as the reinforcement because this child wants that therapist's phone. And maybe that's a little non-traditional, a little unconventional, but you know what? If we find out what's actually reinforcing to the kids and it's not something that's going to do them harm, then that's usually the thing that we're going to do. At that age, we didn't have iPhones when my son was at that age. We just didn't. We didn't have smartphones, and the regular phone wasn't that exciting to him. Although later on he learned how to take pictures with the regular phone, and that was reinforcing to him. But when my child was that little, what we had was the little portable DVD player, and we could play 30 seconds or 1 minute of an old black and white cartoon that he found hilarious. And you wouldn't believe the things that my son overcame to be able to watch 30 seconds of that black and white commercial or cartoon. Crazy. Crazy. When we find the thing that's actually reinforcing, oh, it's a powerful, powerful tool. You can see that that little boy lights up. He wants to play with that phone. Well, he gets to when he gets a little further in his lessons. He has to do a couple of things and then he gets to play with the phone. It's all good. All right, we're going to take a little break, and then I believe we're being joined by BCBA Anna Matchneva. And so stick with us. We'll be back after these messages.
Can you say hello? Say hello.
AJ?
Stop crying.
AJ, let's eat. Can you eat, AJ? Let's eat, son. Have a fry. My understanding of autism was very limited.
He would lick tires on cars, windows, you name it. And so we went to the 13-month checkup, and I remember our pediatrician, he said, well, he probably has autism. There's nothing you can do about it. Come back in a year when he's 3.
Our initial understanding of what the ABA program was basically all we picked up from this clinic in San Antonio.
He didn't pick up any signs the entire 8 months that he was there. I think the difference came when we changed vendors.
We were very impressed with the way that CARD actually gathered data to be able to quantify the progress that he was making. They have a curriculum that they follow that's tailored to each child. They were identifying AJ's strengths and weaknesses.
We were finally starting to see real progress.
Good, AJ. Here's eggs.
The first thing CARD did for us was, I remember the first time AJ said, "Mommy, I want you." And that was the most wonderful thing ever. There's hope.
Yeah,
That's when I knew that there was hope. I never thought that AJ would be able to say that. It was like a gift from God. It was so fantastic.
With CARD, we got him enrolled in a private school.
And he was in a typical classroom. He would go from activity to activity. He could sit when he was supposed to sit. He could be around typical kids. The goal is for CARD to work themselves out of a job. It's for AJ to be in a mainstream classroom with no help, and he's functional and he's learning. We're really grateful to all of the therapists. AJ would not be where he is without them, and we will never be able to repay the part of themselves that they gave to him to make his life better and to make our lives better.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod. We're webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Tarzana, California. We have a special guest with us today, Anna Matchneva, and she is a BCBA, a board-certified behavior analyst. She might seem familiar to you because you could have seen two of the different videos we've been showing from ABAI in Seattle of this year, where we interviewed Anna. We're thrilled that she's joining us this morning via Skype. Anna, welcome to Autism Live.
Thank you, Shannon.
So thrilled to have you here with us this morning. And I mentioned that you are a board-certified behavior analyst. That's something that we talk about a lot on the show. And you're somebody who has extensive experience with autism. And I was wondering if you could take just a second and tell us, because you look very young, but you are young and beautiful. Well, you certainly look young and beautiful, but you have quite a bit of experience with autism. Tell us a little bit about your journey to ABA. Did you wake up one morning when you were 12 and say, I know what I want to do when I grow up? I want to be a BCBA. What happened that brought you to this field?
You know, Shannon, you're not that far off from what actually happened. I'm one of those people who always knew who I wanted to be when I grew up. I wasn't sure I would be a BCBA, but I always knew that I wanted to do something educational, and I wanted to work with children. And what happened? So I pursued my undergraduate degree in psychology, and I started to study psychology, and I was also a dance instructor. So I was teaching a group of little girls how to dance. And what happened, so I was studying psychology. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with that. I never heard of autism back then. But in my dance class, I was approached by a mom who talked to me about her daughter possibly joining my class, and then she mentioned to me that her daughter has autism. And I told her that I'm studying psychology, and I was very curious. And back then I didn't really know what autism was, and they said, oh, absolutely, she can join, and it would be great. And during that first class, I realized that even though I was a good dance instructor, I really didn't know how to teach her daughter. She just ended up running around the class, and I really didn't know how to connect with her, how to teach her effectively. So being a psychology student, I got really interested, and I talked to that mom, and I said, well, can you tell me more about autism, what it is, what kind of services your daughter receives? So she told me about the home-based ABA program that her daughter was participating in. And actually what happened is the university that I was attending, it was a university-based center that was being run by Dr. Todd Risley, who maybe some of the listeners or parents would recognize the name. He's one of the pioneers in ABA and a well-known individual in the field of ABA. And he was running a center-based, a university-based center. So being an undergraduate student, I joined that center, and I began working with children with autism in their home-based programs, and was also learning all sorts of effective teaching strategies, and was able to help this little girl and include her in my dance class. So that's how my interest in sort of autism and ABA started. And I think back then also that seed of inclusion was planted. And I know later on we will be talking about the whole inclusion and autism and preschools. So yeah. That's sort of my undergraduate journey. And I wasn't a BCBA back then. BCBA didn't even exist back then. But what happened is after I graduated with my undergrad in psychology, I moved to British Columbia, Canada, and this is where I currently live. Mm-hmm. And that was back in 2002. And sort of, I'm coming from this university-run, well-structured, sort of 40 hours a week for each child program, now to British Columbia in 2002, and back then it was sort of autism frozen land here. Mm. And there were very little services available to children with autism, and in fact, all the consultants who were practicing here had to fly in from the United States.
Wow.
We didn't have a lot of local people. Yeah. So, and that motivated me to pursue my graduate degree. So I applied at the University of British Columbia at UBC here, and was accepted into their Masters of Education program.
Really amazing. And one of the things that strikes me is that so often as parents, we'll try to take our children to go different places, and we get to a ballet class or a dance class, and we have trepidation and talk to an instructor about, is this something that our child can do? And so often we're met with a person who says yes, but doesn't know what that actually entails. But your story just reminds me, Anna, that if we stick in and ask the question and say, can my child be in the class, that sometimes we're going to meet people who not only get interested but get excited. And when I think about the difference, I'm going to well up here, the difference in, all the children that you've worked with as a result of that mom saying, can my child take this dance class? You really changed the face of autism and created more services in a place where there weren't any, because this one mom said, I'm going to ask this person and I'm going to hang in there even though I know they don't know anything particularly about autism.
Absolutely.
And how incredible what an intelligent and caring and interested and curious person you were to say, okay, I said yes, I don't really know what to do, so now I'm going to go and find out. And you're the kind of person that I want to be surrounded by all the time.
Thank you, Shannon.
But honestly, I think that's a great lesson for all of our parents about, because I know I've been in that situation before about, for me, it was Taekwondo, taking my son to Taekwondo and saying to the instructor, is it okay? Are you going to be equipped to deal with this? And there's always the fear, but sometimes we'll meet an Anna Matchneva and change autism forever. So pretty incredible. And so now you are associated with a couple of different things, I Step Ahead, and also with Smilestones Preschool. Tell us a little bit about what you do with I Step Ahead.
So I Step Ahead is the center that I started after I received my master's degree and became a BCBA. And this is the center that provides home-based early intervention to children with ASD, as well as a more recent service that we added is an after-school program for our school-age learners.
Okay, so if there are families that are in British Columbia, then they can contact you about having the ABA in their home.
That's right.
Okay. And then Smilestones, a pretty incredible thing that you were instrumental in getting started. Tell us what that is.
So Smilestones is an inclusive preschool, and it's structured as a preschool for all children, typical children, and we also welcome and accept children with autism. And how that started is just through my experience of running home-based programs. I ran into situations where we work hard with the child and with the family, and we finally think, okay, this is the child who's ready. He needs to go to a regular preschool. We need to start getting him ready for regular educational setting and kindergarten. And I would ask the family, why don't you explore some options in your community and sign your child up in a typical preschool, maybe for 2 days a week, something like that. And I was quite surprised with how many families were having difficulties with achieving that task. Either they would call the preschool and let them know that their child has autism, and the preschool would sort of shut the door on them right away and just say, oh, we don't accept children with special needs. Or they'll say, well, we already have one child with special needs. We cannot accommodate another one. Or situations where the preschool would say, yes, it's okay, just to have the child kicked out after the first week, just because the preschool wasn't equipped to deal with their either presenting challenging behaviors or anything else for any other reason.
Yeah.
So
and that happens to so many people, whether it's in Canada or here in the United States, or we've heard this from people in India. It's pretty much a worldwide phenomenon that there are, it's difficult to find placements for our kids in preschool. But you did something about that. You looked at that and saw a need.
That's right. I saw a great need. And I mean, not to say that every preschool was like that. There are a number of preschools here in Vancouver and British Columbia that we established a great relationship with, and were able to find dedicated teachers who we worked collaboratively with, and we trained them, and we were able to provide a successful experience for the child. But there were just far too few of those preschools out there. So I said, well, why not start our own? Why not add another one here? So we started Milestones. It took about 2 years to find an appropriate location and go through licensing and put that all into place. But it did happen. So the preschool operates 2 classrooms, sort of 3 to 4 and then 4 to 5 year old classrooms. And each classroom we accept 13 children who are typical children and 2 children who are on the spectrum in each classroom.
And we're going to talk more about what your feelings about inclusion are, and try to give some help to those of you who are watching at home to know when inclusion is right for your child, and when it's time for your child to go to preschool, all of those things. Anna's going to help us to sort all of that out. We're going to take a break first and come back, but want to remind all of you that if you want more information about what Anna does, you can go to istepahead.com. So Anna, stick with us, and those of you watching, stick with us. We're going to take a short break and come back and take on Inclusion Preschool.
My name is Rocky.
Autism used to affect 1 in every 10,000 children. Now it affects 1 in every 91 kids.
TACA is one of 5 organizations helping families living with autism today.
Our kids came back to life. There's a whole community out there, and now we're a part of it.
Oh, TACA has a place for me.
To find TACA, go to www.tacanow.org.
Please.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Our special guest right now is Anna Matchneva. She is a BCBA, a board-certified behavior analyst, an expert in autism, and a particular area of interest for her is inclusion preschool. We were just talking to her about how she was instrumental and had the idea to found Milestones, an inclusion preschool. And Anna, I just so respect that you are somebody who you see a need and you decide to fill it. That's a wonderful, wonderful thing. But I wanted to talk with you a little bit about advice for our parents who are watching. It's such a difficult transition time, knowing when to send your child on the spectrum to preschool and what preschool to send them to. Let's talk a little bit about what is the benefit of inclusion for a child on the autism spectrum.
Well, there are certainly a number of benefits. First of all, being a behavior analyst, I had to look at research, right? What does research tell us? And research is very clear and demonstrates that segregated preschools do not successfully prepare children with autism for entry into regular educational kindergarten.
And is that pretty much across the board, or does it depend on the child's level of functioning?
Okay, so again, interesting research that was conducted, and what it found is that children who are sort of functioning in the lower end of the spectrum, they benefited in the same way from being either in a segregated setting or an inclusive setting. So they made the same number of gains. Okay. It really didn't make a lot of difference for them, it seemed like. Now, for children who are sort of in the middle or in the higher end of the spectrum, showed clear sort of differences and benefited more from being in the inclusive classroom.
Interesting. So really, it wouldn't matter where your child was in terms of, you know, how well they're doing, how functional they are. It's not going to hurt anybody being in inclusion.
Absolutely.
But clear benefits for children who are in the middle or to the higher end. Clear benefits to be in inclusion classroom for preschool.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that's what we found, that no matter what the child's skill sets are, they made great gains and benefit. And what's interesting is the sort of the higher end children who tend to sort of fall through the cracks in just regular preschools. Because they're high functioning enough to just get by, but they don't really learn the skills that they are lacking in terms of social skill development and friendship skill development.
Okay.
But in a specialized classroom setting, we're able to tap into those skill deficits and teach them effectively.
But now when you say a specialized classroom, you're talking about a specialized inclusion classroom.
That's right.
Okay, okay, and because here in the United States, how we consider it, if you're in the special class, the special ed class, then you're not included, and then
that's sort of a segregated classroom.
Okay,
that's right. No,
okay, just want to make sure our terms are.
Yeah, in the inclusive classroom that have a behavior analyst on board and well-trained and skilled instructors.
Okay, great. Great distinction to make. Now, a lot of people want to know what's the benefit for the kids who aren't on the spectrum? Because we see that lots of people are excited about putting their child in a classroom that's an inclusion classroom. And then there are other parents who go, why would I want to do that? What is the benefit for the kids who are in that classroom not on the spectrum?
But that's a very good question, and there are certainly a number of benefits, I think more than parents of typical children realize. First of all, because the school is run by collaborative efforts of early childhood educators and behavior analysts combined, we're able to provide high quality instruction to all our children and employ teaching strategies that are evidence-based, where if behavior analysts weren't involved, maybe early childhood education teachers didn't have access to those instructions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're able to benefit all children with autism and typical children. In addition, we provide very advantageous ratio because we have more teachers to support our learners with ASD, and that benefits all children as they receive majority of the instruction in small groups rather than a large group. Therefore, they have a great number of learning opportunities by interacting with the teacher in small group and receiving extra individual attention.
It's a great point, Anna. The ratio is going to be better, and it's not just bodies, it's highly trained bodies, more highly trained bodies to children. Absolutely, great point. You were talking earlier about when you're working with a family and you're doing an in-home ABA program, there comes a time when you make a recommendation for the family to put their child in a preschool. What kinds of things tell you that a child is ready to go to preschool if they're on the spectrum?
You know, Shannon, this is the question that I put a lot of thought into it, and I sort of asked, are there really readiness signs? Is there a time when the child is ready? Should there be any prerequisites? And just through my experience, I come to a conclusion where really the child is ready when the parents are ready. Okay. And it's just time. There aren't really any prerequisites or certain skill set that the child should have. I think any child, no matter what their skill set is, should have a right to experience going to school and being in that educational setting with other children, being in the classroom, participating in group activities.
Yeah, I absolutely, I love your answer, Anna, because it's when the parents are ready. I'm a big believer that parents' instincts about things are usually pretty good, but also the idea of letting your child be in a social setting. We know how important it is when you get an opportunity to work on something on a regular basis. It's likely you're going to see more progress, and so giving kids an opportunity to be with other kids hopefully help them to develop more skills in the social arena as well as the academic arena. Okay, so are there things though that we can do as parents at home to help our children to be ready for inclusion preschool?
Yes, I think if I had to sort of narrow it down to one advice I can give parents, I would say work on expanding and encouraging your child's interests and teach your child variety of interests, interests that are similar to a typical preschooler. And you know, a number of our children on the spectrum have very limited interests. They're only interested in certain toys, or they want to use the toy in a certain way. So that's what I would recommend to parents. Work on expanding that, getting them interested in many different things and toys. And I'll explain why. The expanded interest give us a lot of context to work with and make a child with autism interesting to other typical peers. I'll give you an example as my own child, who's a typical child but attended Milestones 2 years ago and developed friendship with one of our learners who was coming to our preschool, and the learner with autism. And I asked my child, we were just talking, I was just talking to him at home, and I said, oh, who are your friends at Milestones? And he was telling me the names, and he mentioned the learner's name, and they said, so, oh, you're friends with so-and-so, and said, oh yeah, we're good friends. And then he thought about it, and then he added, you know, Mom, he doesn't talk much. And I said, no, he doesn't. He's still learning. Like, yeah, but that's okay. I can help him learn. But you know, he wears firefighter boots just like me, and he loves trains, which I love too. And did you know he knows the names of all the dinosaurs, and he was teaching us at circle time.
How wonderful. So all these different places of points of contact.
Absolutely. A lot of points for other children to relate to the child with autism and make it sort of interesting to them.
Yes. Well, I think what you're doing is incredible, Anna. We want to remind everybody that if they are in British Columbia and looking for a preschool, Milestones is the preschool that you've created there, and you're making tremendous differences there. And also, you are involved with I Step Ahead for home-based intervention if people are looking for ABA in that way. And I hope that we can call on you in the future to come back on Autism Live and talk with us about a variety of other subjects if you're willing.
Absolutely, I would love to.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time today, and I think you gave us some really good advice about inclusion preschool wherever your child is on the spectrum. Thank you so much for being with us, Anna, and we'll look forward to talking with you soon.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Shannon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
BCBA Board Certified Behavior Analyst Anna Matchneva. Some really good advice about inclusion preschool, and what a wonderful thing to know that research shows us that wherever our child is on the spectrum, it's certainly not going to hurt, and if our child, it gives our child the ability, the hope of making a great deal of progress, especially if their skill set is a little bit towards the higher end of the spectrum. Really great advice. We're going to take a short break and come back and continue to answer your questions and deal with that question about IQ. So stick with us.
Hi, I'm Bryce Myler, and I'm the Contracts Director for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I've been here for about 5 years. CARD has several employees with many years of insurance experience, dealing with insurance, dealing with pre-authorizations, dealing with discovering whether there's coverage or not. So we have more experience than any ABA provider that I've ever come across. So for a prospective client, somebody that may be interested in, ABA therapy and what CARD has to offer, we have a special 800 number, and you call that number. They will talk to you about what we have to offer, how ABA works. He'll ask you for the front and back of your ID card, and then we check to see if you do or do not have coverage. If you have coverage for ABA therapy, we try to do whatever we can to set it up where we can bill for you and you don't have to fight with the insurance company every month to get your claims paid. For California residents, we recently did a series of insurance trainings all over the state, and you can click on the link below to watch pretty much the full presentation. It has a lot of information, how you can get your insurance company to comply with what they're supposed to do, understanding the networks, and many other valuable pieces of information.
Welcome back to Autism Live. You know, we were answering questions before, and we were talking about the mom who wrote in and said, I feel guilt about, you know, labeling my son. And we talked about a lot of things. And you wrote back and said, I feel like if my son could, that he would say, Mom, don't say that about me. And you know what I want to say to that? If that's what your gut tells you, then that's what you need to run with. I really feel like as parents, when we listen to that voice inside, we're really at our highest. And if that's what you feel like your son would say to you, then I want to encourage you to honor that. And if that's the case, maybe there isn't anybody you need to tell. Truly. It's so important that we put our kids first and honor them and honor our gut where they're concerned. So I want to encourage you to honor that. And you know what? Everybody else just has to get a whoopee and be okay with that. You know, because really that's the important thing. And I think it's great that you can identify that and know that. So I applaud you. And it's different for all of our kids. And it's different for all of us as too. So you run with that. That's my advice. Someone else had written in and asked a question that happened to go with our myth of the day, which was supposed to be tomorrow. But because we had this Vulcan mind meld about IQ, I thought we'd jump ahead and do it today. So the question, they say, hi, Shannon, welcome back. My question for you is, how important are IQ scores for our kids? My son had an IQ test when he was first diagnosed with PDD-NOS at age 4. His communication was so immature, with many O's there, so immature at that time. I know he gets multifactorial tests in his public school once every 3 years, but I don't think it's the same IQ test. My greatest concern is about that first score following him and being the first label each of his teachers see each school year. Do you ever wonder about the importance of these scores for GEM 2? Thanks again for all you are doing. So our myth of the day for tomorrow, now today, was about IQ. And there were 2 points that I wanted to make about IQ tests. And the first one is that IQ tests are only accurate when there is enough language present to validate the test. So, and the second point is that low IQ is not a part of an autism diagnosis. So if you've had your child, if they gave them an IQ test when they first were evaluating them, and the IQ test came back low, it's entirely possible that it came back with an asterisk saying we weren't really able to validate these results because there wasn't enough language. I would look into that to see for your own knowledge. There are some people who do an IQ test who maybe wouldn't have put that little asterisk there. The first time that my son's IQ was tested, it was devastating. Absolutely devastating, because my understanding of an IQ test was that you could test anybody at any age and it was going to see what their quotient was. And I was hanging a lot on that IQ test because I wanted to see a really high score, and that is not what we saw. We saw a really low score. So low that I can't even remember, but I remember crying and thinking, oh my goodness. And saying, so what does this mean in terms of, here in the state of California, they still use the R word. And I said, is that what this means? And I was told, oh, no. We really can't test the IQ until there's enough language present to be able to validate the results. These results weren't validated. But I was stuck with this score. that was so low, and I didn't know what to do with it. So I put that aside, and I worried about how is this, because, you know, I knew it went into a record. But the truth of the matter is, if the school didn't give the IQ test, the only way the school can see the IQ test is if you sign a paper saying that they can, and you might want to check into that to see, did you sign that piece of paper? Because you can rescind it and ask that it be taken out. And you have the ability, the testing that they do for the school, they probably aren't going to do that kind of an IQ test unless you specifically ask, and then they may say no, that they don't want to. You have the ability later on to go and get a different IQ test. I know because we were at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, my son got testing every year that he was getting intensive ABA. So there were 5 IQ tests. And there are many things that come with IQ tests. And what I've learned is that you really shouldn't put a whole lot of store into the IQ tests. And I'm sure that there are people in this building who would shudder me saying that, but as a parent, I would tell you, don't hang a whole lot onto it, because it's going to change with a child with autism because of the language component. If your child is a child who doesn't have a great deal of receptive language, you're not going to get an accurate read. You can come back later on and get the accurate read. I would spend a little bit of time making sure that it's not in the school folder, and if it's really bothering you, and I don't know, you said that your child was tested when they were 4, maybe it's time to get another IQ test. Although realize that if the receptive language still isn't there and some of the expressive language still isn't there, it's still not going to be an accurate read. So weigh whether or not it's something you want to invest time and money in, and it's your child's time, your time, and a professional's time, and it's going to be some money for all of that time, right? But I can tell you that with my son, there was that first score that was so low, shockingly low. And then the needle moved a little bit after a year, and then it moved just a little bit more. And the 3rd year that my son was tested, I remember sitting in the room and they said, now, you know, here are the test results, and there's 2 different parts of the test, and one of the tests, this is the number that he got, and that's really great. This number is really great. We're really excited about this number. And here's this other number on the 2 parts of the test that's a good number. It's a good number. It's totally okay number. It's not like stellar like this other number. And so we put these 2 numbers together and we average them out, and it's 1 point higher than the low number. And I said, wait a minute. I've averaged numbers before. You got this high number, you got this, you know, okay number, and you average the 2 together, it should be in the middle of them. No, it's not with an IQ test, because as was explained to me, if there is more than like a 5-point disparity between the 2 numbers, then the high number gets thrown out. And I said, but what if that number is accurate? Well, you know, he would have to test again and have that number be that way, and then, you know, it could be validated if he tested, but it won't. So let go of it, because it won't happen again. It's way too high. It won't happen again. And I said, okay. And I put it to the side and let go, except the next year we came back and the numbers were almost exactly the same. Because our kids are different. Our kids don't fit these tests. They just don't. And I had to remind myself that it's important for me to see him clearly for who he is and what his abilities are. And it's just this year for the first time, because my son, he wasn't showing it in the classroom. I think there were a couple of people along the way who thought my son probably wasn't going to be at the top of his class. That's really how it looked for many, many years. But certainly in terms of math and those kinds of skills, my son is. Yeah, he's doing just fine and is more than proficient in the English stuff now, which is a huge accomplishment for a little boy who wasn't speaking. But we see a clear strength with him, and we're trying to catch him up on and get him caught up on the part that isn't the clear strength and let him fly on the part that is strength. And this year, for the first time, the teacher sees that. and sees that there is this strength because it's shown up on enough of the standardized testing. But I would tell you, don't count on people knowing it. You tell them. Tell them all the time your child's strengths. Tell them what you're working on at home for the things that are the things you're catching up. But you know what your child's strengths are. Every single IEP meeting, every single time you sit down with the teachers to have a progress report, spoon feed it to them. Spoon feed it to them. And if you feel like that is part of his record, get it off there. And be done with that and let go of that. Because IQ, those tests, I just don't think that they fit our kids. And until there is a test that fits our kids, we're gonna fit it ourselves, right? And know that IQ is not a part of the DSM-4 or the DSM-5. It's not on there. It has nothing to do with autism, nothing whatsoever. And keep telling your teachers that and telling the administrators that. I even went and said I nominated my own child for the GATE program because his teacher didn't. And I said, I don't care what she thinks. I care what I think. I nominate my child for the GATE program. They don't have the GATE program anymore because there's no money, but it doesn't matter. I nominated my child for that. And you can too. You can too, because it takes a parent or a teacher to nominate them. So hang in there. Don't get hung up on the number. The number doesn't mean anything. Right? It really doesn't until your child has enough language for it to be validated. And any good test statistician would back that up and say this number is not valid until the child has enough language, which might be when the child's 13 or it might be when they're 22. But until then, it doesn't mean anything. They could be genius and it couldn't register it. So that's my advice. I've gone on way too long. We're going to take a short break and come back to finish out the show. Stick with us.
Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, and this is my son, Jem. We're here today at the Home Depot. You might know that Home Depot is famous for giving free classes to adults on lots of things like tiling and other home crafts. Well, they also have free classes for kids as well. It's called the Kids Workshop. We love doing that, don't we, Jem?
Yeah.
It's cool. So come on inside with us and let's do a craft.
Yay.
The Kids Workshop is a program that's been around with Home Depot almost since we've been a company, and it's been developed to allow kids in the community to come in and give them an opportunity to build something, to be able to create something and be able to take just simple wood pieces and put them together with nails and hammers and screwdrivers and then paint them.
So you do this every first Saturday of the month.
Any Home Depot that you go to on the first Saturday of every month between 9 and 12, you can join different associates throughout different stores and build these projects with these kids.
And do they have to do anything beforehand, or can they just show up on that Saturday?
All they need to do is show up. We have all the tools, all the materials that the kids will need. We have aprons that we give to the kids that they can take home and maintain their pins. They get pins on a regular basis for completing projects. With that, they can keep track of how many projects they've done. And
it's all free.
It's all absolutely free, all provided.
Which is wonderful. And Wilson, I have to say, you know, you guys devised this for all kids to be able to do this.
Correct.
What I particularly love about it as an autism mom, it gives my child a place to come and learn a new skill, to socialize with kids of all kinds.
Absolutely. And that's what we're here for. Home Depot is definitely love to be involved with the community and bring the community in to work with us. That's what we love to do.
Welcome back to Autism Live. It is time for our language tip of the week. Today we're talking about how do we teach our child to make choices. This is a really hard thing in life, to make a choice between two different things. And we want to start fairly early working with a child after they've had a little bit of ABA therapy and they're making eye contact. We have some compliance. we want to start to build in, because this is going to help us with our preference assessments, right? When we want to know what they want to work for, we're going to give them choices on a regular basis. And we're going to do this several times during a teaching session. So here are some tips to help us to begin to teach choices. First of all, we want to start with a highly preferred item, something that it's abundantly clear this is something that the child likes. We're going to set them up for success, right? And so we're going to take this thing that they really, really love. Like, let's say it's Buzz Lightyear, that we know they always love Buzz Lightyear. Great. What we're going to do is, for a short period of time, we're going to limit their access to Buzz Lightyear. We're not going to torture them with it, right? But we're going to take Buzz and maybe stick him in another room for a little while, not let them know that we did that. Maybe before they got up in the morning, we stuck Buzz Lightyear in the other room. So just out of sight, out of mind, right? And then we're going to take an item that isn't a preferred item. So we know that our child just doesn't like Barney, the purple dinosaur, doesn't like Barney at all. So we're going to offer a choice between Buzz Lightyear and Barney. What do we expect the answer to be? That they're going to choose Buzz Lightyear. It's going to be very easy if we started out like that. And then we're going to heavily reinforce the child because they made a choice and say that was good choosing, yay. And in that instance, we're probably going to give them access to the thing that is so highly preferred, right? And very slowly, we're going to work towards having it be more even, choosing between two things that are non-preferred or two things that are highly preferred. Because sometimes in life, that's when it's really rough, right? For us to choose. We got something I don't want to do and something I also don't want to do, right? But if we have correctly reinforced the child each step along the way and said, great, making a choice, and reinforce that, then hopefully the child, very slowly, we can work towards things that are harder to choose between and they're still going to want to do it. So I've got an example here for you. And our EO, or establishing operation, is that the child likes apples and has not eaten apples at all that day. Child just loves apples, but we didn't give them applesauce for lunch, so we're setting up a state in which the child is probably going to want to eat apples. And so then the parent or teacher presents apples and raisins, and for this particular child, we know that they don't like raisins. So a highly preferred item and a really kind of aversive, not preferred item. So the teacher presents both the apple and the raisins and says, do you want apples or raisins? And the child says apples. And then we reinforce. And we have, I think, 1 or 2 short clips of videos that we can show you of a therapist working with a child and doing exactly these. Emily, show us the clip.
Do you want to play Candyland or do you want to go watch TV? Go watch TV. Oh, do that.
Okay, and so the child wants to go immediately to the thing, but they're going to work more, but you see the choice, and I think we've got one more to show.
Do you want M&Ms or gummies?
Yay. It's that simple, but we can do these things over and over and over again, and what it does is helps our child begin to choose. And over time, what we're going to do is make the choice harder and harder. But if we've reinforced and if we've moved slow enough, our child will get adept at making choices. This skill will help our child in school. This will help us as we teach, because it's going to make it easier for them to do a preference assessment to know what we're going to reinforce them with. It's a great skill. You can find this skill and lots of ways to build on this skill in the skills program. All right, we're at the time of the show where it's time to say goodbye. I can't believe how quickly the hour has flown. I've missed you guys so much, and I'm thrilled to be back here. We're going to be here Monday through Thursday this week. On Friday, we're going to be at the ARI conference, the Autism Research Institute conference in Southern California. We're going to be there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you're also going to be there, please come up and introduce yourself, because we want so much to meet you guys face to face. We're going to be getting interviews there and coming back with information next week for you about the kinds of things that we saw there. Promises to be very interesting. But this week we're here and have a lot of really exciting stuff for you. Tomorrow we have Evelyn Gould, BCBA. She's moving from Wednesdays to Tuesdays, y'all, so don't miss that. And y'all, I went south for a second. And then on Wednesday, we have Shelly Hendricks, who's going to join us during Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. She is from Autism Vote. So she's going to be talking with us about the upcoming election and what we need to know about where autism stands in the election. I think, unfortunately, even Shelly has questions about none of us really know, but hopefully she'll help us to understand what we can do to get clearer on those facts. And then on Thursday, we'll have with us Angela Persicki, BCBA, as well on Thursday. So lots of exciting stuff going on here this week. Want to remind you that this show is always meant to be a conversation. And there are lots of ways for you to participate. Emily's going to start to show you some of the different ways that you can email us, phone us, Skype us, Facebook us, tweet with us, tweet at us. All of those different things and all the different ways that you can watch the show, because we're in a lot of places right now and we're coming to you soon in a lot more places. Our goal here is to get you hooked up with information that will be helpful to you. And the best way we can do that is if you tell us what kind of information you're looking for. That's why we're here. That's why I'm here. And that's why a whole host of people that you can't see are here. They want to genuinely help you on this journey through autism. Even if you've only been here a short period of time, you see the power of information and the power of not having to reinvent the wheel. All of our kids are different. They require being looked at and worked with and taught in a way that is completely individual to them. But what we see is that we can help each other by saying, here's what worked for me, and it cuts down the amount of time. And if you talk to a wide variety of people, you're just that much closer to figuring it out. But again, as I said earlier, I think it's important to follow your gut. And to get the information that you need. So tell us what you need. Tell me what you need and I'll go try to write it up. I can't thank you enough for being here with me on this journey. As a parent, I got to spend some time with my child this last week that was really, really wonderful, and it reminded me how much I have to be grateful for, and it also reminded me of how much more we have to do. But I know that I have you, you have me, and we can do this together. Si se puede, right? So we will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, live for 2 hours. Until then, please give your kiddos a hug from me. Bye-bye for now.